Hello. Welcome. Everybody actually might just organise for the music to be turned off. Do you mind doing that, Nate? Thanks. We have almost 40 people booked in for today's Wellness Wednesday talk, so I have a feeling a few people are procrastinating. But we will get started because they're short and sharp, these talks. So my name's Eloise King. I'm the Customer Experience Manager here at Charter Hall, and we have a really interesting and lovely time running these weekly events. Today we're really lucky. We're looking at procrastination through the lens of mindfulness and MBSR training, or should I say an MBSR trained expert in mindfulness.
There you go,
Chibs.
that works.
Okereke. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Almost. Chibs Okereke. Is this
You gotta turn that on.
Turn it on. There you go. Push.
Yeah.
Chibs Okereke.
Very good. So spell check turned Chibs' last name into Cherokee. So that's what we've been promoting for the last 6 weeks, but it's Okereke. Anyway, so about a 16-minute talk, and then we'll open up for some Q&A. I'm going to hand it over to you, Chibs, to tell us all about mindfulness and how we can use it to stop procrastinating.
Thank you very much. So I want to start off by telling you a story. So I met Eloise a couple of months ago, and she invited me to come and do a talk at Number 1 Martin Place, so here I am. I asked her what she wanted me to talk about, and she said anything wellness related. So I said, okay, cool, I'll see you in a couple of months' time. So I put the date in my diary, and I've got plenty of time. I don't need to worry about it just yet. I can think about it another time. Plenty of time. So it's now Friday before the talk, and I haven't started yet, but I've got enough time to do a half decent presentation as long as I focus, but I can't let one thing get in my way. So I quickly check my emails, but I just respond to the really important ones, and then I respond to the really quick ones because they're really quick. And now I'm in flow, I might as well have a look at a few other emails in my inbox. And it's now the evening and my inbox is completely clear, so I'm feeling pretty proud of myself for the hard work that I've done, so I decided to pack it in for the night. I mean, some of those emails have been in my inbox for months, so yeah, pretty impressive. So anyway, I wake up the next day and I decide that today needs to be a day of proactivity and productivity. So I get to the afternoon and I've had a pretty productive day. I've done my emails again, I've done my Instagram, my Facebook, cleaned the car, cleaned out my closet. So it's been a pretty productive day, but time for the presentation. So I get to it. Eloise told me anything wellness related. Well, anything? Well, that could be like thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of things for me to choose from. So exhausted from the unfairness of it all, I exercise self-care and pack it in for the night. So, following day, Sunday. So I wake up. If I'm going to be working hard, I'm going to need a coffee. So I quickly go to the cafe, get myself a coffee. I come back to maybe 6 hours later, and I'm caffeined up. I've read the paper, I've had lunch, caught up with a couple of mates, and I've even gone to the gym. And I haven't been to the gym for months, so yeah, pretty impressive. So, okay, so get back to my desk and feeling a little bit anxious. Might be because I've only got 3 days left to prepare the presentation. Might be because of the 4 coffees, not sure. But either way, anxiety and productivity don't go well together. So I watch some TV to calm me down. I haven't seen season 8 of Game of Thrones yet, so I'm just going to watch 1 episode. Okay, so I wake up the next day late because I've been watching Game of Thrones all night. And, right, time for me to work. But it's the Queen's birthday, and I'm English, so I can't think of a good excuse not to celebrate the Queen's birthday. Right, so I wake up the next day, hungover, and a little bit hungry. I don't work well on an empty stomach, so I go and treat myself to a big lunch. I come back full, maybe a bit too full, a little bit tired, and I've heard a 20-minute nap is good for productivity, so I go back to bed. Wake up a couple of hours later, and I'm in a mild panic. I haven't started my presentation yet. I've run out of excuses. I haven't got any time left. So I sit down and I write, and I write, and I write, and I write with perfect, unswerving focus and attention. And then many hours later, I go to bed exhausted, thinking to myself, Chibs, you've done it again. What is your problem? If you'd started 2 months ago, it would have been way less stressful. You would have done a way better job. And yeah, I promised myself next time things are going to be different. So obviously I made that story up, otherwise it'll be a bit of a weird presentation for me to do. But that was totally based on a true story, and I've done way stupider things in the past. So what I want to do today anyway...
And the brief was not that loose. It was not anything.
Yeah, a bit of artistic license here, thank you very much.
We're a little bit more focused than just anything else.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been as funny then, would it? Jeez, all right. But so what I want to do today, I want to talk about what is procrastination, talk a bit about the research, and what I'm going to be moving towards is to show you that the best technique to reduce your procrastination or even beat your procrastination is mindfulness. So, what is procrastination? Well, it's not just delaying a task. I mean, sometimes delaying a task is a wise thing to do, so if we're waiting to get more information before we start on a project, that's smart. If we've just received a text, an angry text, and we're waiting for ourselves to calm down before we respond, then that's smart, that's not procrastination. So procrastination is its own special category of delay. So we could define it as the needless, unnecessary delay of a task, when delaying that task will harm us in some way or harm the performance that we do on the task. So if procrastination is needless, it's unnecessary, it hurts us or it hurts our task, then why do we do it? It doesn't really make sense unless we understand a little bit about how the brain works. Now, we've got a task. So the task might be, this is the task. The task might be unpleasant or boring or difficult or lengthy. So it's some difficult task that we don't want to do, and we wouldn't do it unless we had to do it. When we think about this task, it brings up uncomfortable feelings inside the body, so it feels like stress. So we get these stressful feelings, we get these uncomfortable feelings inside the body. And so what our brain does, because our brains doesn't always do the best job, but what it's trying to do, it's trying to help us feel better in every moment. So our brain, in its wisdom, decides to look for something else to do to relieve that discomfort. So we might get our phone out and go onto Instagram. Like, okay, I feel better now, So, you could be on Facebook or Netflix or YouTube, or get a coffee, or you could be reaching for a snack, or you could be finding other tasks to do. So you might go and do your laundry, or you might rearrange your closet, or you might put your CDs into alphabetical order. But anything that's not this task that is making you feel so uncomfortable. So, good news for me, I read this article and it told me that the number one tool for procrastination is mindfulness. And lucky me, I've got 10 years of mindfulness practice under my belt, and I'm pretty used to sitting with that discomfort. So this is what I did. So I used this as an opportunity to test it out. So I dusted off my to-do list and at number one, which has been sitting there for no joke 2.5 years, was lodge your taxes. And I don't think I'd be lying to you if I said I'd put this off 100 times. I decided I'm going to do my taxes tomorrow, I'm going to do them next week, and I believed it every single time as well. So I've done this. I'm going to bring my newfound knowledge to this task. So I get the task out and I sit with the feeling. Okay, so what do I feel about this tax? Well, it's a punish, it's annoying. I'm going to have to find all my credit card statements and my bank statements. I'm going to have to talk to my accountant. I'm going to have to speak to the ATO because I've got so many fines now for late lodgement. So it's a boring, unpleasant, difficult task. Well, it doesn't take a mindfulness expert to bring that up, but it was still interesting for me to see that in the foreground of my awareness rather than it be in the background. Okay, so now let me dig into it a little bit deeper. And this is what I teach my clients to do. So if we've got an uncomfortable feeling, it could be anxiety or anger or fear or something like that, then what I'll encourage my clients to do is to bring awareness to that feeling. So we might locate the feeling inside the body. So maybe there's a tightness in the chest, or there's a lurching in the stomach, or maybe there's buzzing in the back of the head, or tension in the neck and shoulders. So we bring awareness to those feelings. So rather than push those feelings away or push them down or distract ourselves with some other thing to do to avoid that discomfort, we bring awareness to it. And we kind of treat it like a friend rather than an enemy that we're trying to push away. And so this is what I did. So I sat with it a little bit longer. And okay, if I tap into it a bit more, I'm actually feeling a little bit stupid for having let myself down so many times, giving myself such a hard job to do. It's now a lot harder, and I owe a lot more money. So I'm feeling like a bit of an idiot, So okay, well that's interesting. I've noticed all these kind of self-attacking thoughts now. That's thoughts about myself. And if I dig into it a little bit deeper, well, okay, well I used to own a multi-billion-dollar company a few years ago. And the last time that I had to deal with the tax man was when I was putting my company into administration. And so I've got all these kind of feelings of guilt about all the employees that I had to make redundant, and I'm feeling kind of sad about the state that I was in, like for a year, trying to save this company. And and I had all these feelings of, it wasn't just guilt, it was like shame and embarrassment, and it's the first time I'd failed in business. And and it brought back all the memories of the anxiety and the dark depression that I had for a few months, and the massive burnout that I had after that year. And I'm right, okay, so it kind of makes a bit more sense now why I was avoiding that task. No wonder I was avoiding that task. There was so much more to it. So what mindfulness allows us to do is to separate out what's the reality of that task. Okay, there are uncomfortable feelings about that tax, but all the other uncomfortable feelings, there was so much more. There was so much more. And these are existential issues. These are issues about myself. These are self-doubt and fear of failure and fear of success, and all sorts of deep-seated issues. So what it enabled me to do was separate the two. So now I've got this task over here. Yeah, it's not fun. I mean, I'm sure Netflix will be more fun, but it's not that bad, so let me get started. And so I just got started. Picked up the phone to the tax man. Half an hour later, it was a great phone call, actually. The guy was really helpful. I knew exactly how much I owed. I knew exactly what I needed to do. And it wasn't that bad. It certainly wasn't anywhere near as bad as it felt before I started. So that's the first, I guess, concrete technique is, just get started. So separate the discomfort of the task with the discomfort of everything else, and then just get started. And notice that I don't say just do it. If I say just do your taxes, that's overwhelming. That's a lot. That's a lot of things to do, a lot of things to think about. But if we say we just get started, and again, this is what I ask my clients to do, is we work out what's the next action point to move our project along. So we don't work out the whole, we don't think about the whole thing, but what's the next action point that we can do to move the project along? And in my case, it was pick up the phone and find out how much you owe from the ATO. And then once you've got started, then you're much more likely to carry on, because you're in the flow all of a sudden. So it's about getting started. It's about just learning to get started. So mindfulness then, it allows us to take action despite negative emotions. So first of all, it brings into our awareness the feelings and the emotions that are inside us. And secondly, it allows us to take a positive step forward despite the feelings of discomfort. And yeah, I guess to wrap up then, so what have we learned today? We've learned that the reason that we procrastinate is because we're trying to avoid uncomfortable feelings. So we procrastinate on a task because we feel bad and our brain wants us to feel better. So we look for anything else to do. The other thing we've learned is that mindfulness is the key tool to beat procrastination. And course, the number one technique to increase your mindfulness is through mindfulness meditation. So if you guys haven't got a daily practice, even if it's just for a few minutes each day, I'd really recommend that you guys do a practice. You know, as I say, it can only be a few minutes a day. And this is burning I'm sweating like a pig here, aren't I? This is terrible. Maybe I'll go behind here. Here you go. Is that cooler? So I'd really encourage you guys to develop a mindfulness practice. And as I say, it only needs to be a few minutes each day. And yeah, so if anyone wants to come and speak to me afterwards and get some tips, that'll be perfect. But we've got some time for some questions now, I think.
Actually, I'm going to just kick things off. So if anybody's got any questions, feel free to raise your hand. But just to start with, what is mindfulness? What I heard in that discussion was that it's about connecting into how you're feeling, what's in your body, the actual emotions behind what you might be denying, or becoming present with what is, not with, what you think things might be. But is there a definition for mindfulness you can share with everybody?
Yeah, I mean, there's 1,000 definitions of mindfulness, but I mean, I can start by telling you what mindfulness isn't. So mindfulness isn't having no thoughts, it's not clearing your mind, it's not getting into some transcendent bliss state, it's not relaxing, it's nothing to do with religion or anything like that. But what it is, it's just paying very, very, very close attention to whatever's happening right now. So it could be sights, it could be sounds, it could be the breath, it could be emotions, it could be sensations, it could be anything, it could be what you're eating, what you're smelling, it's just paying very, very close attention. And through that, we ground ourselves in the present moment, because what our brain's trying to do, and it's an amazing tool that the brain is, but it was designed in a different time. We don't need to have this thinking, planning, worrying, ruminating brain anymore. Not so much anyway. But back in the day it kept us alive, because we'd look in the past, okay, what went wrong? I don't want that to happen again, and plan for the future. So, all right, what did I do badly that could affect my future? So let me plan for the future so that never happens again. So it's always in the past, always in the future. But when we're in the past and we're in the future and we're not present, we're not paying attention. So one, we may as well not even be living. But two, it's actually dragging our mood down. So our brain doesn't care so much if we're happy, it cares that we're safe. And the way to become safe is to plan. But it makes us miserable when we do that the whole time. So when our brain's going on that loop, it brings down our mood.
And my understanding is that a very significant part of mindfulness training is about being with what is, but without the judgment, without the chatter around it being good or bad or something negative.
Yeah, so judgment is a big part of it. I mean, we just talked about it before with the different attitudes. So yeah, non-judgment is a big part of mindfulness. And it's just accepting that that's what the brain is designed to do. The brain is trying to keep you safe. So we just, so we can appreciate that. And so if our mind is busy, our mind is busy. We just bring awareness to our busy mind. And generally by bringing awareness to it, it tends to quieten it down. And even if it doesn't quieten it down, it still enables us to realize that, okay, it doesn't matter. I don't need to react to these thoughts. I don't need to react to these emotions. So if we feel anger, for instance, what mindfulness allows us to do is kind of go, right, let me have a look at this anger over here. Do I need this right now? Is this going to help me? Is this going to serve me? And sometimes it might, sometimes you need to get tough and you need to take action. But most of the time you don't. Most of the time you get angry and you react, then bad things are going to happen to someone else and probably yourself as well. So it just gives us that space. It just gives us a little bit of space so that we don't react, because our brain is just a reaction machine. It's just constantly going, it's constantly trying to flick us this way and that way. And so we can step back and we can, I guess, take control of the brain, and we can respond rather than react to things.
Does anybody have a question before I ask my next question? No? Yeah? No? Phil? Okay. You procrastinate about asking. Maybe because there's something that you're feeling uncomfortable about in the process of having to ask the question.
Thanks very much. I suppose it's almost just showing how simple it can be. I was thinking about, I suppose, the two takeaways from it. One is almost that you should try and separate the potential feelings about the task versus what you're feeling about it generally. The first one will always be the same, the second one will only get worse as you go along. And just the idea of getting started is the hardest part. This almost feels like if you're on top of it, you'll never have the opportunity to be mindful about that, separating the two feelings. Because if you do it early enough, you're never going to have that secondary anxiety about, oh, if I don't do this or I don't do that, then this will only get worse. Which is not a bad thing, but I suppose how do you the better you get at this, the less you need.
That tends to be the case, yeah. The more mindful you get, the less you need your mindfulness, and what I do at the moment is I actually, because I'm sort of so far down my mindfulness training, I actually put myself through discomfort just to practice. So I have cold showers now, not because for any health benefits, but just because I hate them. So I put myself through something uncomfortable each day, so that I can practice being with the discomfort, so that when something uncomfortable does come along, then I'm better prepared for that. But yeah, I mean, you're always, it doesn't matter how good you get, you're always going to have struggle. There's always going to be struggle. And even me knowing everything there is to know about procrastination now, I'm still going to procrastinate, but I'm aware of it now 99% of the time, whereas I might have been aware of it 5% of the time. And when I'm aware, it still doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to change anything, but I'm much, much, much more likely to change things. So now I behave a lot differently. As soon as and we've only scratched the surface today. I mean, there's a whole heap of procrastination hacks, but if you don't have that basic mindfulness, then you're going to have to rely on your willpower to do those hacks, because you'll be motivated to do it for a couple of weeks, and then you'll lose motivation. But now, as soon as I hear I'll do this tomorrow, that's like a little reminder to myself. I'm like, okay, am I going to do this tomorrow? Or am I just procrastinating? So that's my trigger now. Just like if I feel a little bit of anxiety inside my body, that's a reminder for me now. Whereas many years ago, I wouldn't even notice it, and then I'd only notice it until it got too bad. So the more you practice, the quicker you notice things, and then the quicker you can adjust and pivot. But one thing which I want to say as well is one big part of procrastination. One thing that's a real block to procrastination is giving ourselves a hard time about it. So all the research is pointing towards self-compassion and kindness. So if we do screw up, which we will because we're human and that's normal, if we do screw up, then we need to be able to forgive ourselves for that. We need to say, it's okay, I'll start again tomorrow. If we're hard on ourselves, then we're more likely to procrastinate because we've added to the uncomfortable feelings now. And it's all about avoiding uncomfortable feelings. Some of it, a little bit, is to do with being lazy, but but most of it is to do with avoiding uncomfortable feelings.
Any other questions? So I just was.
I find that once I do get started with something that I've been putting off or procrastinating, especially if it's something that I'm not particularly comfortable with for a long time, once I do start it, I tend to get very involved. I tend to almost lose track of time or lose track of how much time I've allocated to that particular task. And I tend to go over, I tend to not want to stop doing it once I've started. Do you have any tips on how to stop that happening?
Yeah,
or how to control that? Because you sort of get in the moment.
Yeah.
Basically, you do the opposite.
Okay. Can I ask? Are you a perfectionist?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So me too. So perfectionism, there's two types of perfectionism. There's those perfectionists that just want to do it perfectly for the sake of doing it perfectly. Then there's perfectionists like myself that are called socially prescribed perfectionists, and I guess they're scared of being judged, and there's a fear of failure there, and they want to do a perfect job, so everything needs to be 100% perfect before you can do it. So that's a tendency, and that's actually a risk factor for procrastination. Okay, so if you're a perfectionist, you're more likely to be a procrastinator because you know just how tough this task is going to be once you get started. It's not going to be a half an hour thing, it's going to be an 8-day thing, right? So you're aware of that. It might be outside your conscious awareness, but that's what your brain knows is about to happen. So again, this is one thing that mindfulness helps with. Are those judgmental thoughts, are they real? Well, probably not. Do I need to be perfect? No, I don't. So what I do now, I give myself half an hour, I put a timer on, and I decide how much time I'm going to spend on a project. One reason I do that is because I don't want to overwhelm myself, and then if I'm going to work 3 hours on a project, then I won't do it. If I do it half an hour, then I'm sort of being a bit more disciplined, and I'm making that task a bit more manageable and a bite-sized chunk. So set a timer, and easier said than done, takes a bit of practice, but relax and realise that people aren't judging you like you think they are, and the biggest judge is going to be yourself. So you're going to be your own harshest judge. So just take the pressure off yourself a little bit, and 80% well is great. You'll get a lot more done. So if you get 5 projects done 80% well, or you can get 1 project done maybe at 100% if you get round to it.
With the tax return, with your example around tax return, I tend to find that the tax return, I'll tend to find, put it off this year, probably at 8, 9 o'clock at night, or get to the point where I'm like, just started, and it's a 6-hour job, or 5-hour job, or 4-hour job. I should be allocating one, but I have difficulty stopping at one because I'm only halfway through the task that I'm probably started.
Yeah, I mean,
It's big. Not necessarily there's times that it's about, being a perfectionist, but there's other times that it's a big, onerous task and starting late at night.
Yeah, so I guess what my advice to you would be is to work out, sit there with the feelings about this task, at 9 o'clock in the morning, and try and work out why you don't want to do it. What are you feeling uncomfortable about? Is it just about the task, or is it something else? In my case, there was a whole heap of stuff going on in the background that I didn't even realise was affecting that task. So have a look into that, and then just set aside half an hour. But maybe don't do it you're exactly the same as me. So I make sure that I don't work in the evenings now, because I know that I'll be up till 2 o'clock, because I'm in the flow of it, and I might as well get it done now that this is the one rare occasion that I'm motivated to do it. So I hear you, and now I start early in the morning, and I do it in half-hour slots.
We're just about out of time, so I just have one final question. Given there's so many different types of meditation around, and we're talking about meditation being mindfulness-based meditation being a great tool for overcoming procrastination. Vedic meditation is about having a mantra and focusing on that, and breath meditation is just about focusing on the breath. How does mindfulness meditation or mindfulness-based meditation differ from some of these other techniques, and how does it specifically relate to procrastination?
Okay, so I did Vedic meditation for 7 years, and then I switched to mindfulness meditation. So Vedic meditation it's a concentration meditation. So you're going over a mantra. Every time you get distracted, you come back to the mantra. Much in the same way with mindfulness, you'd be focusing on the breath. If you get distracted, you gently come back to the breath. So it's same there. But the difference between mindfulness is we don't use thoughts as the enemy. Emotions aren't